Amiga, do you ever feel caught between two worlds? You cherish your cultural background, but sometimes it clashes with the realities of raising a family in modern America. You might feel pressured to fulfill traditional expectations, yet you crave a life that allows you to be your true, authentic self. If you're a Latina mom nodding your head right now, I see you and I get it. Balanced Motherhood is more than your average mommy coaching program. It's a supportive comunidad designed specifically for you. I understand the unique challenges you face navigating between generations and culturas while forging your own path as a mama. Stop feeling like you have to choose between your roots and your future. Balanced Motherhood empowers you to create a life that celebrates your heritage, embraces your motherhood journey, and prioritizes your own happiness. Spots are limited. Don't miss out on this opportunity to connect with a supportive community and create a more balanced life. Visit the link in the show notes to join the waitlist for the next Balanced Motherhood cohort. I can't wait to meet you. Hola, hola, amiga. As a modern mom, do you often wonder why you're stressing yourself over to make sure you have the latest gadget for your bebé, or that you are searching up Google like no other so that it can give you all of the answers and inform you about the way you're parenting? Well, on today's episode, I'm here to tell you that as Latina moms, we have that leverage to connect with our cultura and embrace a more simple approach to motherhood. No, I am not talking about the negative aspects of the way we were raised or anything related to that. But in reality, our cultura has so much beauty in motherhood that we should consider it as a way to reclaim it in our mothering. So on today's episode, I'm going to share 3 ways in which you can reclaim your cultura as a modern Latina mom so that you can stop stressing yourself over. Welcome to the Viva la Mami podcast. I am your host, Jessica Cuevas. I am a mother of 2 on a mission to help redefine the meaning of motherhood as a modern Latina mom. Motherhood can be a complex journey, interwoven in 2 identities that often make us feel ni de aquí ni de allá. Viva la Mami is committed to providing you with knowledge, tools, and support to navigate the challenges and triumphs of motherhood as Latina moms. On the show, we'll be discussing culturally relevant topics that will help inform and empower you in whichever season you are in on your motherhood journey. We'll be joined by Latina moms, experts and professionals who can offer advice, practical tips, relatable stories, and honest conversations. So bring your cafecito as I invite you to be a part of this space as we create comunidad about the exciting and challenging parts of being a mommy. Ahora, vámonos. Being a Latina mom in today's world can feel like a balancing act, right? We're bombarded with so much information out there. We see so many gadgets for our kids and all these shoulds about how to raise our little ones. Like, it is just overwhelming. But sometimes the best parenting advice comes from within and from the wisdom of our ancestors. So let's talk about 3 ways that you can reclaim your cultura and use it to create a more fulfilling and authentic parenting journey. The first way in which you can reclaim your cultura is to go with your instincts. This is something that my mom always told me. Vas a tener ese instinto. And here I was when I first became a mom. I literally was obsessive over trying to find out the best answers because I wasn't listening to myself. So one huge example that I have is when I had Diego, my first, I was so infatuated on like downloading all of these different apps. And when I was going through my breastfeeding journey with him, well, first of all, it was such a whirlwind, and that's another episode of its own. like talking about my breastfeeding journey. And I have shared this in previous episodes when I interviewed 2 lactation consultants who are Latinas. So if you haven't listened to that, I will put those episodes on the show notes. But my breastfeeding experience with Diego was like no other. Okay. And so when he was a newborn and I was trying to learn this thing about breastfeeding, I was like, I need to time each and every breastfeeding sessions because that's what I've been told. That's what they're telling me at the pediatrician. And so I downloaded these apps. And mind you, I had more than one app. I could have just used one. But I just wanted to make sure that the breastfeeding sessions were like on point. And I was depending on these apps. I was depending on the time. Instead of going with my instincts, instead of really reading his hunger cues or reading when he was full, like instead of really reading my child, I was depending on these apps. And y'all, like we live in such a modern world and such a technological world, right? Like there is so much pressure and we believe that we can get all of the answers off of the technology that is given to us. And even though these can be somewhat of like blessings and advantages, the big con and disadvantage is that we cannot listen to ourselves. We no longer carry on those attributes that our ancestors did when they were raising their babies. Another example about this is like Googling. If baby is developing well, I'm Googling because, oh, my baby has a rash. I want to know what it is. Instead of either calling a pediatrician or just waiting until it heals and hopefully nothing bad happens, and that's when you have to call the doctor or go to the ER, whatever. Like we are all wanting to get answers off of the internet. And as we know, when you Google something, like it's going to be worse. You're going to look at the worst case scenario. And also you're not having the ability to really sit in and be present with your child if you are concerned about their milestones or their development. It is very easy to go on the internet. I mean, it is helpful, but part of it is like, no, you also got to go with your own instincts and really know yourself and really know your baby, right? Another big example that I see is like when people go and participate in these like Facebook groups. I am a part of these mom Facebook groups, whether if it's like local or they're like specifically related to like special concerns or whatever. Like for example, I'm still part of this Facebook group about like breastfeeding moms, and it is a nationwide Facebook group. And there are people that ask questions that really you shouldn't really ask on a Facebook group. Maybe you should ask a lactation consultant. And maybe there are lactation consultants in this Facebook group, for example, but still, like some of the information that people get, like I'm not even a lactation consultant, and the answers that some people provide are just so inaccurate. So let's be careful of who we're asking, where we're putting out those questions to, because sometimes these answers can be false, inaccurate, and not relevant to your specific concerns. So again, mamas, go with your instincts, okay? This is something that our abuelitas have done, our ancestors have done, and look at us. We're here. The second way in which you can reclaim your cultura is you do not need to buy all of the gadgets and have all of the baby gear. And again, this is something that I learned as a first-time mom to now as a mom of 2. I was kind of like hating of like people having these like $1,000 bassinets because it like, you know, rocks your baby, like literally soothes your baby. And I was actually considering getting that, but I am so glad I did not, because guess what? Your baby grows freaking fast. And what are you going to do with this $1,000 bassinet? You know, modern marketing bombards us with like very expensive products. And it's supposed to promise to make your lives easier. And while, yes, like I do have a baby monitor that tracks our baby's breathing, okay? Like I know that some people might find this, oh, this is a little obsessive. And others are like, oh, wow, that's cool. Whatever your budget is, whatever you are able to afford. but you do not need to get all of these baby products when in fact it's not really a necessity. If you want to live a simple life, if you want to live a minimalist life or a lifestyle that isn't going to make you overwhelmed because there's so many things in your house, like it is okay. You do not need to have all of these different products. All right. And I know, and I'm guilty, as soon as I go to Instagram, right, the algorithm for some reason, as we all know, shows all of these different toys and gadgets. Like, for example, my sister shared to me this like backpack where it has kind of like a pillow. It looks like an astronaut that the baby wears. But if the baby falls on its head, it's like protecting their head. And even though that can be considered like a safe gadget or a safe thing for the baby to wear, I'm like, I mean, all of us babies have fallen, right? Like, I'm pretty sure you have fallen off the bed when you're a baby. And look, you're here. Okay. So, like, it is okay if they do a little oopsies. You know, you don't need to have all of these things. And one big example that I know that our Cultura has continued utilizing even to this day, if you go to Mexico or Guatemala, for example, and I know these are two countries that utilize this, but the rebozo, you can carry it with you from pregnancy to the postpartum period, even until your kid is a toddler. This simple woven wrap that is used by generations of Latinas and our ancestors is not only such a great symbol, but it is such a practical way to carry your baby. You do not need to spend a baby carrier, first of all, from a brand that is most likely owned by a man. Let's just put it out this way. And it costs like hundreds of dollars. This rebozo is not even expensive. You can either get it in Mexico. I also have a connection. I'll share it in the show notes. But it's not only a cultural tradition to have a rebozo, but it's also a reminder that less can be more. And then the final way in which you can reclaim your cultura, and this is a big one, lean in on your community. For example, La Cuarentena is such an important window of opportunity for you to truly take advantage of your village. This is a sacred 40-day postpartum period, and it is such a powerful example of how our cultura prioritizes the well-being of mamás. Lean in on your community, your hermanas, your mama, even your tías. If you feel like these are tóxicas, okay, maybe, but I promise you, especially during your postpartum period, they are going to be so essential. They may give you some unsolicited advice. You may hear a lot of chisme, but in reality, they're going to uplift you and they're going to distract you from like going through these hormones and everything. They're going to help you and your baby. They're going to feed you. They're going to clean your home. And I know that many of us don't have that privilege of having our family members with us, but guess what? You can ask your neighbors, a trusted friend or friends. You can reach out to your own community and kind of create your own version of La Cuarentena. And you all can share experiences, seek advice, and offer support in any way. Remember, it's so important to lean in on your comunidad. And this is the beauty that our culture has embedded in us. It has taught us to lean in with your kin. It has taught us to always be there for each other. Because again, we are stronger together, sort of thing. And I know this sounds kind of corny, but it's true. So imagine a circle of supportive moms sharing stories and experiences. Like my mom, when she helped me during La Cuarentena, and I had the privilege of having my grandma the second time around when Mateo was born, they were sharing me all of these stories about how their transition was. And so these stories that they shared about their postpartum period, I am holding them true to my heart. They also fed me like these foods that it's almost like a rite of passage. I have never tasted an atole the way that my mom did. And it was like to help boost your milk supply. It was delicious. And so it's, again, you're being treated very well during this period. And if you're beyond this postpartum period, if you are a mama who's already like had kids, older kids, you can still lean in on your community. You can ask to babysit your kids if you and your partner want to go out on a date. You can reach out for support if in case you are feeling overwhelmed and you need to take a couple steps back. And so as much as our family can be overwhelming sometimes, they're always going to be available for you if you need them. So mamas, although we embrace being modern because in Western culture, that's how we kind of have assimilated to, remember that these strategies are more than just cultural traditions. They're a way to connect with your roots and trust your inner wisdom and really simplify motherhood. Think about it. Our ancestors raised generations without all the gadgets and social media anxieties. They relied on their instincts, their communities, and a deep connection to their heritage. There's beauty in reclaiming your cultura. It's about going with your gut, simplifying motherhood, and creating your own tribe of supportive Latina moms. If you are feeling overwhelmed by modern parenting and want to embrace a more balanced approach rooted in your cultura, then Balanced Motherhood might be here for you. Balanced Motherhood is my signature 3-month coaching program designed specifically for modern Latina moms. It's all about helping you to create a calmer, more fulfilling parenting journey that honors your heritage and empowers your instincts. The doors to Balanced Motherhood open up this Wednesday, April 17th, 2024, and I couldn't be any more excited to share this with you all. Don't miss out on this opportunity to connect with your cultura, build your confidence, and create a village of support. Head over to vivalamami.com/balanced motherhood. That is balanced with a D at the end, -motherhood, to learn more about Balanced Motherhood and enroll today. Spots are very limited because I want to keep this inaugural cohort as small as possible, and that way I can provide the most individualized attention for these mamas. You can also DM me on Instagram at @vivalamami to learn more and to learn ways on how to join. All right, mamas. Well, thanks for joining me. Remember, you are truly capable. Your culture is rich, regardless if you come from Argentina to the Dominican Republic, whatever it is. We can all embrace our heritage and create a beautiful parenting journey on our own terms. All right, amiga. Thank you for listening. Hasta la próxima y nos vemos on the next episode. Mujer, thank you so much for taking the time out of your busy schedule to listen to the Viva la Mami podcast. If you enjoyed today's episode, will you do me a favor and follow the podcast and leave a rating and review? Hitting that follow button and reviewing my show will allow other mommies like you find this podcast. Your review will also tell me if you enjoy the show, so I would truly appreciate your thoughts. Don't forget, please share this podcast con tus amigas. Also, make sure to follow me at Viva la Mami on Instagram or visit vivalamami.com. Please note the information shared in this podcast is for educational purposes only and should not be taken as professional advice. Okay, mujer, thank you for joining y nos vemos in the next episode.